All right, everybody, we have a special guest today on Brain Fresh. We have Dr. Gaskins Tillett. How are you? Oh
I'm great. How are you?
I'm
Thank you for having
well.
me, Mary.
My gosh, I'm so honored. Thanks for joining. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about because you've been busy over the years and you're forming things, you have new things going on. So let's hear about it. Well, tell us a little bit about something about you and your background first, and then we'll go into all the
Sure.
good stuff.
I'm an OBGYN by training.
Hmm.
So I completed my residency back in '08 at GW.
Okay.
And I practiced for a number of years. And then I found myself at a crossroads. Probably now about 10 years ago or so,
Okay.
I was a new mother, a new wife, and a full-time, full-spectrum OBGYN. So my plate was overflowing. And I found myself burned out really, that I was going through the motions, but I wasn't really enjoying any aspect of my life. I was in motion, but I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really present. And I didn't even have the realization that that was my circumstance. I knew I didn't feel good. I knew I wasn't enjoying my life. I knew I wasn't seeing this baby that I waited forever to have. I was seeing her for like 2 hours a day. So I
Hmm.
knew that things were out of kilter, but I couldn't put language to it until I went on a vacation. My husband and I took a few days away, and I was sitting on the beach, and I realized in that moment that that was the first time in I don't know how long that I was actually able to hear my own voice, that I could hear what I was thinking, and I was screaming. Is what I heard. I heard the scream that said, "This is not
Oh.
sustainable. You can't keep doing this." And so that kind of set things in motion. It kind of led me down a personal development pathway where I started to study what wellness meant. What came to me as I was sitting there is you are not well. And so, as physicians, we're natural researchers, we're scientists, right? So
Mhm.
I pull out and just start Googling, what does it mean to be well? And that just takes me down, a pathway, one thing after the other thing, eventually leads to me pivoting in my career. So I went from being full-time, full spectrum OBGYN to hospitalist at that time.
Okay.
But hospitalist actually gave me more flexibility, and gave me time back, because with that kind of schedule, I worked 3 days a week and I had 4 days a week to myself, or that I could share with my family or other things. But what I realized in all of that is that my priorities had changed significantly, but my time, the way I spent my time and managed my time had not. So maintained my schedule as though I were a single OBGYN, when in fact I piled on many things in my personal life. And I think the biggest lesson that came out of that for me was the need to reevaluate. We kind of get stuck in a box, if you will,
Mhm.
that once we choose a career path, we think, well, this is it. This is what I have to stick with. And honestly, that's a story I was telling myself for a very long time. One of the
Mhm.
things related to that story was, there's no other job I could work that could possibly pay these loans. So I have to keep working this job this way. I had not explored the options, to be
Mhm.
perfectly honest, and
Mhm.
have since found that that just was completely untrue. But it was a story I was telling myself, and I wholeheartedly believed it at the time.
Love it. Yeah. So many stories there. Yeah. That there's only one way, or that, working as a doc, like somehow things are, and adding new people to your lives, including a cute little human,
Right.
that you don't have to change anything. I was really grateful myself. I always worked part-time when I was a mom. Even when I was doing my fellowship, I asked to do it part-time because I had a baby then. And, you kind of, I find like one of my very smart friends, Dr. Adrienne Boise, told me, sometimes you have to tell people like this is how it could look if we were
Yeah.
part-time, or if it looks differently. Like we have to,
Yeah.
if we can see it, we have to help other people sometimes see that there are alternatives. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting. So I do love that you actually, had the time to kind of get that wake-up call and say, yeah, something's got to give, huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
what were
sure.
your next steps? And you found that hospitalist position.
Right. Well, like I
Hmm.
said, it kind of led to a personal development journey,
Okay.
which is kind of long. So I'm not going to get into
Yeah.
all of that with
Yeah.
you guys. But
Yeah.
it involved a lot of mindset shifts.
Okay.
and resulted in myself owning my power to change my life. Because again, I had this misconception that I had to practice a particular way,
Mhm.
that was the only way. And I was not giving myself permission to explore options. I wasn't giving myself permission to do something different. And so that, personal development and establishing that foundation of wellness was key. And so once I did that, then like I said, I kind of freed myself up to pivot. And I won't, I'm not going to take total responsibility for this. There were some things that went on in my practice that made it obvious that I was going to need to do something different.
Okay.
But I think, at that time, honestly, it seemed like the worst thing in the world, because I
Mhm.
thought that I would, stay with the practice. And I, had started making some changes there. Like on Mondays, I would come in late, so I tried to start making some adjustments in my schedule to make it more manageable for me.
Mhm.
But when it became obvious that I was going to need to leave the practice, it freed me really. It gave me the eyes to look around, to say, hey, what else is out here? And what are my options really?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
I love
so,
that.
like I said, yeah, so like I said, I pivoted into a hospitalist position, and pivoting once frees you up to pivot many times. So
Mhm.
I pivoted again and again. I've done hospitalist, outpatient GYN, back to hospitalist, back to outpatient, and now I actually work for an insurance company.
Okay. Okay.
And I work for an insurance company, and I have a business called Boss Lady Dream Builders,
Yes, you do.
where where I help
Yes.
professional women develop the tools, mindsets, and skills that they need to build lives that they love. And my passion is helping other women do the things that I did, which is identifying what you really want from life, not what you think you have to settle for. A lot of us do life by default, and that's
Mhm.
not what I'm interested in. And I just want other people, other women, to have that same experience where they can own their power to change their lives and actually enjoy life, and not wait around for retirement or for something different to change or someone else to give you permission.
I love that. Yes. So let's just talk to new docs that are in their first 5 years of practice. What would you have loved to know yourself, or what guidance can you give them as they're, usually in the first 5 years, it's like, you kind of figured out your job a bit. And then you're like,
Yeah.
what, I like this, but not this so much. Like I'm actually coaching one doc that's in her first couple years, and she's rethinking things and she's realizing what's important to her. So what
Right.
can we say to those new docs out there that are
I
thinking,
would say
yeah.
I would say take time for yourself to check in. Because what's working today may not be working tomorrow. For me, I built my life a particular way, and my because those were the priorities that I had at the time I constructed that life. But as life changes, your priorities change, or your desires change, or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's really about giving yourself permission to reevaluate and refocus and move in a different direction if that's what you want to do. If you decide that you want to work less hours, then negotiate that or find another position where that's a possibility. If you want to do another residency, do that. If you want to pivot into a completely different profession altogether, you can do that too. I think the my overarching message is life has no limits, only the limits that we put on it.
Okay. Yeah. And keep reevaluating. I think that's a great advice. Just kind of check in with yourself, like, how's it going? What part of my week do I really
Right.
enjoy? And
Yeah.
you try to find more of that. I think that is true. I mean, I do research with folks living with multiple sclerosis, and we call it self-efficacy, right? So if our
Yeah.
patients feel they have self-efficacy, that they can navigate, they can find resources, they know what kind of
Right.
path to take or where to find information, people do better. They do so much better physically, mentally,
Absolutely.
professionally. Everybody
Right.
does better if you realize you do have that agency. And I love that you help women with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then,
Yeah.
what I say about medicine is it's a series of uninformed decisions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think about it, Mary. We go to med school, but we don't really know what med school is. We just,
Right.
if we
We
want to be a
go.
doctor,
We're
we go to med
excited to
school.
go.
Right.
Right.
So you get there and, you find out what it's about. Then, you go through your clinical time, and, at best you spend maybe 4 to 8 weeks at one thing. Most of the
Mhm.
time, it could be only 1 or 2 weeks. And out of that little hodgepodge, you have to pick a specialty. So you actually have no idea what that specialty is about. Not really.
That's
What you're
hilarious.
and you see a skewed perspective because you're seeing inpatient or people who are affiliated with training, but that's not necessarily what your life as an attending in that area will look like at all. So
Yeah.
then you choose a field, you do a whole residency, and even in residency, you don't necessarily know what attending hood is going to look like. And
Mhm.
so that's why I'm saying, once you get to be an attending, look around and you chose this life, but you didn't, right? You
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
chose it, but you didn't because you
You're
didn't know what
rolling
you
with it,
were
right? You're just rolling
right,
and
right.
rolling, right?
Exactly. You had no
Yeah.
idea what you were actually choosing.
Hmm.
And so, give yourself permission to look at it and say, okay, I chose this, but is this really what I want?
Right. I love that.
Or
Yeah.
do I want to, or what can I do? What modifications can I make to make this closer to what I want?
Right.
Maybe you want to do more research. Maybe you chose an institution that, isn't consistent with your values. All of those kinds of things. And I think too that we get burned out when we're working in situations that are incongruent with our core values.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. So you offer women, professional women, many resources. So, but something's coming up soon. So let's talk about that one. Is that
Yes.
okay? Yeah. What do you have
Oh,
coming
I
up
would I
soon?
would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I have a signature event. It's called A Weekend for Me, the premier wellness experience for professional women. So I do have an upcoming retreat. It's actually a 4-day retreat for professional women. I have an upcoming retreat in Jamaica, June 20th to the 24th. And A Weekend for Me actually started because of that experience that I had early
Okay.
on that I mentioned, where I was on vacation with my husband and sitting on the beach and realized I wasn't well. Because sometimes I think we need a change of surroundings and
Mhm.
something to interrupt our status quo, to give us the time and the space to evaluate where we are, to actually dream. And so, there when we on the retreats I do facilitated sessions in addition to rest. And so what I tell people is it's a weekend for you. So you do as much or as little as you want to. But as far as the facilitated sessions are concerned, I challenge the women to imagine life with no limits, all green lights, no red lights. What would you want your life to be? What would you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? And
Mhm.
then we start making a personalized roadmap from where you are to where you want to be. And so this will be my third event, my
Mhm.
third weekend for me, and they have been absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal transformational experiences for the women who have been in attendance.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to it. And, there's some people who have started businesses. People have decided to go back to school to pursue another degree. Made changes in their home life, their relationships, all of those kinds of things because of the inner work that we do as a part of A Weekend for Me.
I love that. I love all the what you mix together there, the wellness and the intentionality. I think that is so important. Like you said, sometimes we're just kind of on a conveyor belt of someone else's
Right.
choosing, and it's all the literature, all the research, right? All the leadership literature, all the emotional intelligence literature suggests that we do need to pause and,
Right.
kind of where are we? The self-assessment is just so important. So at the very least, if
It is because if you're
that's,
not careful, you will, look up and 5 years will have passed and you will
mm-hmm,
basically be living Groundhog Day, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
the same day, year after year, time in, time out, you're doing the same things the same way, but are they really serving you? And is this the life that you want? Because at the end of the day, you get one life. We only get one shot at this.
mm-hmm.
And how much time do you want to give to something that you're really not enjoying?
Mm-hmm. So true. And also, is there a Facebook group as well that people could
There
join to
is,
get to
there
know
is.
you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So the Facebook group is Boss Lady Dream Builders,
Okay.
and it's a community where together we learn the tools, the skills, and the mindsets that we need to build lives that we love.
Gosh, I love your mission. Thank you. And you as a physician, how did you learn about business? Because that's one thing I help women docs build and grow businesses because we never learned in med school, right? Like
You are
how
correct. And that's,
business classes did we get?
yeah,
Zero.
you
Yes.
know, but you asked the question of what I would say to the younger,
Yes. Yes.
younger
Yes.
in medicine. That's
Yes.
exactly every time I talk to anybody who is a trainee, I tell them learn the business of
Business.
medicine because they
Yes.
do not teach us and it does us such a disservice. And
Hmm.
so, but of course, business skills are translatable as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so what I would say is it has certainly been trial and error because
Yes.
I did not get those business skills. I
Yes.
do currently have a business coach. So I did
Nice.
eventually engage a business coach because I
Uh-huh.
needed help and support and guidance. And,
I
you
love
know,
it. Hmm.
I mean, it's just, it can be,
Sure.
entrepreneurship can be pretty lonely. And
Right.
so
Right.
it's
Right.
great to have it's great to have a community.
Absolutely. In anything, right? That is absolutely part of our core. It sounds like part of your core programming too. It's just always make
Yes,
sure you surround people that are growing. I find that so renewing as well and affirming when you surround yourself with people
yes,
that are growing and supportive and challenging, right? So it sounds,
yes.
just like challenge a little bit, is this okay? Like take time to think about it. And if you say you're going to do something, we're here to watch you do it, Like, yeah.
And hold
Yeah.
you accountable when you don't, right? Okay, you
Right?
said you were going to do such and such,
What's
and it
going
hasn't
on?
happened yet. So what's going
Yes.
on? Where are you
Yeah.
with this?
I love that. Okay, so where can people find out more about you? What should they start? You tell us,
Um,
what's the best way?
well, I'm kind of all, I saw a relative this weekend and he said you're all over the internet. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of everywhere.
Okay.
Most places I'm Sherita Gaskins Tillett. So Facebook, Sherita Gaskins Tillett,
Okay.
LinkedIn, Sherita Gaskins Tillett, MD. On Instagram, Dr. Sherita DGTOB.
Yeah. Well, we're
A
gonna
lot
put
of
all the
letters there.
links. We'll
Yeah,
put
and
all the
then
links in
also
the show notes. Yes, we'll put all the
yeah,
links.
the
Yeah.
Boss Lady Dream Builders Facebook group. There's also
Aw.
Boss Lady Dream Builders Instagram page. And Weekend for Me, www.aweekendforme.com. This upcoming retreat is a different kind of experience than usual. It's actually a smaller, more intimate retreat. It's
Nice.
going to be in a private villa. For
Okay.
the first time, the past ones have been in hotels. So this one is
Okay.
in a private villa. And
Oh,
so,
that's
but I do
exciting.
still have a few spaces left. So
Okay. So get in soon.
www.aweekendforme.com.
Get in soon because there's only a couple left. Who doesn't want to be in Jamaica soon? Let's go.
Yes,
Okay. Well, thank you for your time and all you do for professional women because we all need to stick together, right? And just support each other
absolutely.
and share all the
Absolutely.
resources and share. I love that you just share that energy of change and just assessment and make sure you're living your best life what's very important to you. I love the intentionality.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me on. I
absolutely.
appreciate it so much.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
love what you do
Oh,
in
thank
bringing
you.
awareness to
Thank you
us.
very much. Okay, so everybody, only a few spots left for Jamaica. Jump in. Okay, all the best. We'll see you later.